If you've worked on a Chinese game, you'll know production scale is on a whole other level. Japanese devs discuss growing quality of Chinese games. Okay, what? I mean, let's be honest here. Japan was at the forefront of anime games for the longest time. 20, 30 years, now Chinese devs have taken over. All right, chat, answer this. Japanese or Chinese, which country makes better anime games now? Japanese devs discuss growing quality of Chinese games and how somehow Japanese games are losing to Chinese games even though Japan created anime, guys. Damn. Increasingly polished games with higher production values have been coming out of China in recent years. Yeah, Genshin, all of Hoyo's games really. Punishing Grey Raven, Wuthering Waves, Azure Parmelia, Ananta, all these insane games with insane production value that make Japanese gacha games by extension look indie. It's ridiculous. Even though that, like, Japan pioneered literally the anime JRPG genre. That's why JRPGs exist. They are Japanese RPGs. This increase in quality has sparked discussion amongst Japanese game developers. At least they're acknowledging it. They're like, you know, we pioneered this, but they're doing it better now. Some industry professionals think that such Chinese games are gradually becoming superior to Japanese titles, but in certain respects only. And that is true. Can you name a Japanese gacha game that has released in the last 5 years that is of the same quality as Genshin Impact, or Wuthering Waves, or Honkai Star Rail, or Punishing Grey Raven, or Zenless Zone Zero, or Reverse 1999, or any of those incredible games? I cannot. I genuinely cannot. Can you name an upcoming Japanese gacha game that looks as good as Azure Parmelia, Arknights Enfield, Ananta, Chaos Zero Nightmare? Because I can't. I can't. There's not a single Japanese game that has released or is releasing that looks as good as anything that has released or is releasing, which is kind of absurd. Becoming superior to Japanese titles in certain respects, such as animation. That is true, yeah. They suggest issues affecting Japanese game development, like lower production budgets and animator shortages, may be hindering Japanese titles' competitiveness. So lower production budgets. I mean, I can also see that. I can, but there are gacha games out there that have smaller budgets that still make incredible games. Note this article is predominantly about both countries' mobile gacha game scenes. This whole discussion was triggered by a viral clip of the upcoming base building RPG Arknights Enfield. Developed by Shanghai-based company Hypergriff, the 3D open world gacha game will be joining the ranks of Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, and Zenless Zone Zero with its beautiful anime graphics and bouncy animation. I like how they list open world gacha game will be joining Genshin Impact, which is an open world action gacha, Wuthering Waves, which is an open world action gacha, and then Zenless Zero, which is absolutely nothing like Genshin, Wuwa, or Arknights Enfield. But they're just like, you know what, let's just name drop this because it's currently relevant and popular. Although I guess it is action, so by extension, I guess there is some correlation there between them. The clip in question below, which has been viewed 6.9 million times at the time of writing, showcases the moveset of Yvonne, who is arguably one of the coolest looking characters in the game, by the way, thus far. One of the characters appearing in Arknights Enfield. Japanese users express astonishment at the fluidity of the animation, especially the way it conveys her character's personality and the overall attention to detail. Okay, well, I'm curious now. I guess let's go ahead and take a look. All right, chat. Let's see if this is as groundbreaking as they say. No, admittedly, I played the beta. I did not get Yvonne. Goddamn though. Goddamn though I wanted to. She's licking her lips as an idle animation. Okay. Yes. Yep. Oh my god. They weren't kidding about the bounciness of her character though. Yeah. No, she does not look like the new Genshin Impact character. You know, the new Genshin Impact character looks like the dollar store version of Yvonne. Let's be honest. Not at all. Oh my, hello. Dude, they have different animations depending on where in the positioning they are. Well, what just happened? What a time to free! Oh, he's pausing it on purpose. Okay. I thought my internet was freezing. Like Twitter was freezing. I was gonna be like, God damn, dude. Well, no, I can see it. I can see it, yeah. And that's just, it's just one character. Before we go any further, I do want to take a moment here to thank all of my incredible patrons over on Patreon and my YouTube channel members who allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this every single day. You guys are absolutely phenomenal, and I genuinely cannot thank you all enough for the support. Moreover, comparisons were not only made by gamers, but by industry professionals too. Alway, representative of Indie Us Games, a Japanese company specializing in Unreal Engine development, made the following comment. When I look at this, I feel the biggest difference between recent Chinese games and domestic Japanese games doesn't lie in the graphics. Yes, it does! Yes, it does! Yes, it does! There is no Japanese gacha game released in the last few years or upcoming that looks as good as this. Yes, it definitely lies in the graphics. That is one facet of it. 110%, man. But in the animation, you can have ugly characters, like terrible graphics, and therefore, by extension, you will have relatively inferior animation comparatively. So, the better the graphics, the better the animations can be. It's not just the way the characters move, it's the physics, the camera work, and the way it guides the viewer's line of sight. It's also true. How it's presented is a large part of it. Every aspect of the animation is far superior to that of domestic games. Yeah, every aspect of the animation, but also the graphics. 100% the graphics too. What do you guys think? Do you think graphically Chinese games are superior? Like Wuwa, like Ananta, like Azure Premilia, like Arknights Enfield? Do you think all these upcoming Chinese games are better graphically than Japanese games? In that continuation of the thread, Alloy goes on to highlight some legitimate obstacles that make it difficult for Japanese developers to step up their game, such as the worsening shortage of animators. According to the developer, skilled animators are such a rare resource in the Japanese industry that it's just not companies fighting over them, but different departments within companies grappling to get animators on their projects. Which is probably honestly why we literally like honestly get shit all Japanese gachas. Yet China is just overflowing with them. Another issue is the pressure to minimize production costs. China is great at that. The need to keep animation costs as low as possible means Japanese developers must resort to using generic motions and motion capture. Not really, you don't have to use generic motions and motion capture. Korea and China does it without issue. Reflecting on these circumstances, Awai comments, it remains to be seen to what extent Japanese games will be able to compete, considering China will continue to produce highly polished animation at this level. A Japanese animator working in the game industry echoed these sentiments, commenting, "This is something I've felt strongly about in recent years." They emphasize that it's not just a matter of Chinese games having a bigger budget than Japanese games, but it definitely is in part due to that, but about how the budget is allocated too. I think that in Japan, people tend to place more importance on looks, as it's an easy way to boost the appeal of the game. The artist notes that even within the same budget available, it would be extremely difficult to gather enough skilled animators to produce such large volumes of elaborate animations in Japan. So they're saying that even with the same budget, they can't do the same thing. I mean, that just seems like a skill issue then, doesn't it? They're literally admitting that they just cannot distribute the money effectively enough to produce what China is producing. That's it. In response to this exchange, Japanese illustrator and animator Shiba29, who has experience working with Chinese game companies, offered insight into how the situation looks from the other side. If you've been involved in Chinese game projects, you'll know that they use 10 times more money and manpower than Japan. The scale is incomparable. 10 times more money, 10 times more actual programmers. Holy crap. That's wild. If you knew the actual numbers, you'd be astonished. It's not the kind of budget that could be recovered within with a couple $100 million yen in launch day revenue. Shiba29 notes that the sheer scale of investment they've witnessed in Chinese game development would be impossible to pull off on a Japanese project. Oh, so, well, there you go. Japan can't do it anyway, so they're just kind of sitting there like, why even bother? I don't know, that's just wild to think about. On a separate note, they mentioned that in their experience, the development environment in China is a lot more free-spirited than in Japan. Creators come up with crazy, on-the-spot ideas that would never get approved in Japan, which in the animator's opinion likely contributes to their work being more expressive. I could see that being a thing, yeah. All right, that was actually very insightful. Yeah, I've always wondered, I don't know if you guys are the same way, but I've always wondered why Japanese games always seem so shit. Like Japanese gacha games, not JRPGs. JRPGs are my favorite type of video game. But why Japanese gacha games always seem so inferior, comparably, you know what I mean? Hey, where do you think you're going? I see what you're doing there. I see you navigating on over, scrolling on over to that X button. Don't you dare. What I need you to do is take a moment and click one of the videos that are about to appear as soon as I'm done talking. And trust me, you're gonna wanna.